Hello Athens, your city manager Seth Sumner here with your daily COVID-19 update. Today is April 1st, 2020. It is a slightly sunny day. It's Wednesday in the Friendly City. And I wanted to start out, as I usually do, by sharing with you the Tennessee Department of Health numbers for COVID-19. We do have a total of positive tests in Tennessee today of 2,683. That is out of now 32,452 tests. A new number that's being included on the data set that the health department provides are the number of recovered COVID patients. There are now 137 successfully recovered people in Tennessee. Hospitalizations are slightly up from 175 yesterday to now 200 today. Fatalities yesterday stood at a staggering 23, and today that only extended by 1, and so now we are at 24 fatalities of Tennesseans that have lost their life to COVID-19. McMinn County remains with only 3 positive COVID cases. And all 3 of those cases are recovering well, and so I'm very happy for that. There have been 114 negative tests so far in McMinn County. Of course, that is not the total number of tests. There are many more out that we are awaiting whether they're positive or negative, hopefully negative for those people, but glad to see that we remain at 3. And again, I believe that's all because of you. The work that you're doing to socially distance yourself from other people, limit your trips and interactions, that is working, and I'm very proud of the work that you're doing in our community. Today, I have a special guest on with me. We have Athens Police Chief Cliff Couch. And so we just wanted to do a little Q&A session to help update the people as far as the activities of our police department during the response to this novel coronavirus. Cliff, thank you for being on this show with me. And I'll start out. Obviously, there's a lot of things different today than there were just a few weeks ago for the police department, as with everyone. So what are some of the differences in police activities during COVID-19 right now?
So I think like most police departments around the nation right now, we're taking a lot of common sense precautions to try and keep our officers healthy. At a time like this, it's more important than ever that we have an able workforce that we can call upon, that people know that we're still here when they need us. And so we're just taking a lot of common sense precautions. We're making sure everybody has protective gear, that sort of thing. But we're also, as you probably know, our lobby is shut down. But that doesn't mean we're not there. We're still there. We're still working. We're just trying to use common sense. If there's something we can handle over the phone or provide help with, then we're doing that. There's some things that officers are going to have to actually be at, obviously. That hasn't changed. So in those cases, we're still there, but when we're there, we're, whenever possible, practicing social distancing. Just a lot of common sense things like that. The more we can reduce the likelihood of one of our officers coming into contact and getting infected, then the more likelihood we have of keeping it out of our ranks altogether, and making sure that we have officers that can respond when people need us during this.
And I have seen some press releases in the last couple of weeks. There have been some burglaries of note, some thieves that have been apprehended. And I know we've seen some commentary out there about are police not arresting? How do we stay away from that? And obviously that's not the case. Would you like to explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So just like us, the justice system, the court system, the jail, they're making common sense decisions right now too, and some of those are very hard decisions. But this idea that the jail is completely shut down, that is not the case. Unfortunately, in times like this, these are the times that we should all be coming together and helping our fellow man and making sacrifices, doing things that we can be proud of when we look back on this when it's all over. And I think most people are doing that. Some people are taking the opposite route. There are absolutely folks that are seeing this as an opportunity to go out and take advantage of people, whether through fraud or, you know, for the example you mentioned just a few nights ago, a guy decided to just toss a block through a window of a gas station and go in and help himself. We're still catching people and we're still putting them in jail. So, you know, we still have a job to do and we're still doing it.
Good. Happy to hear that. And I think that brings me to my next question. Is there obviously some things that have not changed in the last few weeks? Would you like to talk about some of those things that are that the police department is doing the same as they were just a few weeks ago?
Yeah, we're still showing up to work, still solving cases, and you know, when people do things like that and try and take advantage of folks, we're still taking it very seriously and still putting bad guys in jail.
Has there been any declining the level of, or maybe the number of police officers on the street during this time?
No, you know, as we're still healthy. We still have a full workforce, and we still have the same number of officers out there. You know, unfortunately, you probably won't see us doing some of the things that we really like to do. It's springtime. We really put an emphasis on getting out of the cars, getting out and interacting with the community. You know, trying to come by and talk to you while you're watering your lawn in the evening time, riding the patrol bikes around and creating those opportunities to really get to know the citizens that we're out there serving. Some of that stuff is obviously just not a good idea right now. So we are, you know, like everyone else, trying to social distance, and so you may not see us as much, but the officers are all still out there.
Well, and you mentioned something that I know has been a very positive change for our community, especially in the way of policing. And I really appreciate your approach, which is a community approach to policing. And a lot of folks are familiar with that term and might just think of, well, that's police officers on bicycles in neighborhoods. But it's obviously so much more. Do you want to maybe take this opportunity to help further explain what community policing really is?
Yeah, so community policing is just it's become kind of a buzzword, and you know, people think of, well, it must mean this program or that program. It's really not. It's just a philosophy and a way of approaching policing where, you know, instead of kind of viewing criminals and then cops and then the community as three distinct groups, you know, we look at issues out there as problems that have many solutions, and whenever we can, we try and work with the members of the community to get a solution. We've been very successful with that. Athenians have been great about the civic groups. The churches have just been so helpful to us, and you know, unfortunately, we've tried so hard to work in that mold, and you know, so it's really difficult when you get in hard times like this and you have to back it off. But in other ways, that's more active now than it's probably ever been. You know, you and I have had several conversations lately where you know, people will call the city and say, my elderly neighbor needs help and they can't get groceries and stuff. And there have just been people, these community groups, these churches that we traditionally work with, that are just lined up, you know, waiting to go do it. And you know, we all know government can't solve all the problems out there. It takes community as a whole working to do it, and I think that we're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing the best come out in people in these trying times.
Every citizen doing their part, being helpful, being responsible, and actually part of the solution instead of just calling on the police department, come fix this for me. Not taking the law into their own hands, but actually where you can fix things, being helpful. We love to see that. Engaged citizens here in the Friendly City. What recommendations would you have for citizens during this pandemic?
Well, so while you're stuck at home and maybe need something to do, there's some things you could do that would really help us out. The obvious stuff, if you see anything normal, folks can if they see anything out of the normal, give us a call. You know, if there's suspicious vehicles in your neighborhood, that sort of thing. You know, look out for each other, look out for your neighbors. Give us a call, give us a heads up on stuff like that so we can help. In your own home, while you're stuck in there, I would recommend everybody go. I was talking to one of our detectives recently, and he was telling me that on cases that we actually have a serial number. If somebody steals something that belongs to you, we're always going to be asking you for a serial number. We need that to put it into our databases and stuff like that. We got a lot of really cool technology that we've invested in this last couple of years, and that has really contributed to our case clearance rate going up. We're solving more of the crimes that are brought to us. He was telling me when we have a serial number, we're solving 80 to 90% of those cases. When someone steals your stuff, we're able to find out who took it 80 to 90% of the time. That's huge. So basically what I would do is, you know, you just take your cell phone. You can do it on your cell phone. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. And go around the house. Go with all of your guns. Take pictures of the guns and the serial numbers on the guns. Go to your electronics, your DVD players, your cameras, stuff like that. Anything that's got a serial number on it, go ahead and get that serial number, and then we all have phones. We all have our, it's not something you have to worry about forgetting about it later. And then, a year from now, if God forbid somebody breaks into your house, you got that right there. Just go pull it up in the files on your phone, and it will make a tremendous difference in our ability to help you if that happens. And your insurance company is probably going to end up asking for it anyway. So as long as you're stuck inside and nothing to do, nowhere to go, it's a good thing you could do to kind of invest in the future and help us out if the worst should happen.
That's a very good tip, and something I need to do when I get home tonight. Now, the last couple of days, I've had some different guests, but the last 2 days we've had our county mayor, John Gentry, on, and he and I have been updating the citizens as far as Governor Bill Lee's executive orders, namely 21, which is an addendum to 17, and then 22. And, one thing that I hope our citizens can really appreciate of all the employees here at the City of Athens, that the first thing that we do when we're in new territory or don't fully think we have the grasp of something that's been handed down to us is we want to make sure that we have the proper authority to act. Before we act, we understand that we do actually have the authority to do so. And if we don't have the authority, we meet with attorneys, or we ask the city council, who have been tremendous at supporting the city staff through this entire ordeal. But then they would have to act to change policy to give us authorization for those things. So it's been tough with new orders coming from our governor. That can be difficult for folks to kind of get through and understand how that affects them in their lives. And then us as the local government, what is there for us to enforce or do with these orders? And so especially looking at Executive Order 17 and Executive Order 21, it actually gives enforcement authority to the local governments. It provides for a very specific list of businesses that have to be closed right now for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so just in the last couple of days, here at the City of Athens, we've created a team of ambassadors that's interdepartmental. There's some police force, firefighters, we have community development employees and parks employees, all teaming up with lists to visit our businesses and just give a friendly city approach to making sure that they're following the CDC guidelines, the White House guidelines, and our governor's executive orders. And so this is just a friendly reminder of what these orders say, and that these can be and will be enforced by the city of Athens. And we just want to make sure everybody is doing the best job that they can. And so just wanted to give an opportunity maybe to speak about the enforcement aspect of some of these and what that might look like. I don't expect we'll have anybody, from what you and I've seen as we've toured the community, looking at, there's been specific complaints on businesses, and we've went and visited those businesses, and everyone's doing above and beyond what's being asked of them during this time. And it's important to our governor, it's important to us that you're able to protect your livelihood and your liberties during this pandemic, while also being responsible, doing your part to protect the public health. And so as we've toured the city and we found that folks are in compliance, I don't expect that we'll come back with maybe hardly anybody that will have to be enforced, but what does that look like for law enforcement?
Well, I'll say first off that we obviously understand this is all very quickly moving. This is new territory for all of us on our side, and we understand it's new territory for everyone out there too. This is a lot to take in, so nobody's out there playing gotcha. We absolutely want to educate people, which I think is at least part of our rationale behind what we're doing right now and trying to give people a place to come for information. Like you said, I really just don't think that we're going to have a lot of enforcement problems. That being said, if we do, and we do, we talked with had the meetings with the lawyers and all, like you said, and there is a duty and a responsibility and an authority there for us to take enforcement action. You can, if someone were to willfully not want to comply with one of these orders, that is a misdemeanor crime, so you could be cited for that. And in addition, if we had to, the district attorney can get a court order that goes ahead and shuts down that business that way. So, I really don't anticipate that we're going to have to take any action like that. Everybody is just going way out of their way to try and, take care of the thing. We all have a stake in this. It's all of our health. There's none of us that are immune to it. So, I expect that's going to continue to be the case.
I do too. Thank you very much for that, Chief Couch. So I also had a few other announcements I wanted to tack on to the end here. Just coming from tn.gov in their newsroom, a couple things of importance, where the deadline for March and April vehicle registration renewals has now been extended to June 15th. So March and April for your vehicle registration. Of course, we have that office here in McMinn County is closed to the public right now for health reasons, and those registration renewals will be pushed to June 15th, which also means an enforcement aspect that March and April tags, if we see them driving around in May, that we won't be citing those tags. Now, if you have January tags and you haven't renewed them, you may want to figure out how you can get those updated. We have that there. We mentioned this yesterday. There have been key education and nutrition waivers to allow our school system and its feeding programs to do certain things, and we had those on the show yesterday. If you didn't catch that, then please go back and look at that with all three directors of schools. And I think those are the main things that we've caught so far from tn.gov today. Really appreciate you being with us. Really appreciate the approach of law enforcement that you bring to the friendly city. And what all of our law enforcement officers are doing day in and day out, especially being at risk right now, having to be out there, and if someone's breaking the law, arresting them and taking them to jail. I know sometimes that's a physical altercation.
Yep.
And that can really put our officers in harm's way with COVID-19 especially. And so really thankful to have our police force protecting us during this time. May God bless you. May God bless Athens.